Thank you for joining us for the 2-minute drills. I'm Aram Salegian, joined by Steve Ramirez on my right, and behind the camera, Fred J. Robledo.
That's right.
We are talking about the Angeles League right now, and specifically the three local teams as far as we're concerned. St. Francis and St. Paul both have playoff hopes on the line this week, and St. Francis is playing LaSalle, our third local, which doesn't have any playoff hopes but is hoping to ruin someone's season, and that would be St. Francis. Let's get right into this, Stevie, and let's set the stage for this league. Right now, Cathedral and Harvard Westlake are tied for first place at 3-1. After that, there's 3 teams tied for, I guess you would call this third place, because one of those 2 teams is second place. St. Francis, Salesian, and St. Paul, all 2-2. So what does that mean? Well, Salesian is playing Harvard Westlake. St. Francis is playing LaSalle. St. Paul is playing Cathedral. Here's the situation. If you want to just keep it very, very bare bones, basic, simple, if you want to make the playoffs, if you're St. Francis or St. Paul, simply win on Friday night. And then you can start the scoreboard watching, and then you can start figuring out all the scenarios. However, simply winning may not be enough depending on what happens in the other games. So let's set the stage for St. Francis. They're the biggest favorite this week, Freddie. They're playing LaSalle. Yeah. You know, they're a big favorite. They're, for all intents and purposes, probably we can say they're going to win the game, right?
Right.
Okay, that'll make them 3-2. The best case for St. Francis is this: they need Harvard Westlake to win on Friday night and basically go to 4-1 and be up there for the league championship, because that would mean that Salesian is now 2-3 and St. Francis is in. I don't know where they would go in, as whether it be the second or the third place team or whatever, but they're definitely in because Salesian would be out.
Yeah. They have the tiebreaker over St. Paul,
but they don't have it over Salesian.
Yes.
So they need Harvard Westlake to beat Salesian, wipe Salesian out of the picture.
Yeah.
There is a scenario in this situation where St. Francis wins, Salesian wins, St. Paul wins, and you have 5 teams all at 3-2 tied for the league championship.
That's amazing.
Yeah. At which
and I think if you look at this division, there is one at large, and this is going to be the top rated league. They've all played pretty good. I mean, these good teams have played pretty good non-league schedules, so I think schedule strength is going to be in their favor. There's no doubt out of those 5-4 getting in. Just who's going to be the odd team out?
Yeah. I was looking at the other divisions, and because if St. Paul loses, which is a possibility, they'd finish 5-5, and as long as Salesian loses as well, because they hold the tiebreak over Salesian, they would get that. They'd be in that at large category probably.
Right. And
the other leagues, if it goes true to form, they're be in competition with some 5-5 teams. Right. And I think based on the league that they're in, they would probably win that argument.
Right. That's the good news for St. Paul. I mean, listen.
I think you look at it, St. Francis. Of all these games this weekend, they're in the best shape in terms of a game they're going to win.
Right.
They're not going to lose to LaSalle.
But LaSalle has played.
Stevie, stop it.
Stevie,
stop it.
They only lost 20-14 to Harvard Westlake. They played well, just not good enough.
Well, Harvard Westlake is the fluky team in all this. Although they're tied for the league lead, I think the 3 best teams are probably Cathedral, Salesian, and St. Francis. And then you got at the bottom of that St. Paul and Harvard Westlake. But Harvard Westlake has had a great run. You can't take anything away from them. But
St. Paul's going to be like, didn't we beat Salesian, Fred?
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, at the end of the day, I think when you look at all of these teams, what they did, I think those are the top 3 teams.
Look, we gave you the key thing. None of this is going to matter. I guess
I want to see a 5-way tie. I think that'd be great.
Just win and good things will happen is the best way we can put it. Now, here's the question. We've all kind of agreed here, St. Francis. Good, bet to beat LaSalle. Even though I think LaSalle and Russell Gordon are going to pull out all the stops, all the trick plays, everything you can imagine in the book.
This is their last game, no matter what happens.
Right, and they want to beat this team.
Yeah, so why not?
So that ought to be interesting to see just how as LaSalle approaches this game. But can St. Paul beat Cathedral, Stevie? This is a St. Paul team that beat Salesian. They're playing a lot better. They were in that game for a little while against St. Francis. They're kind of limited, like you talked about last week, but they do what they do well. Can they beat Cathedral?
3 weeks ago, I would have said no. Today, I think they have a good fighting chance.
No way.
Cathedral only won last week against Harvard Westlake. I think it was 14-13.
Right.
If it's that type of game, that's St. Paul's type of game, where if it's close in the fourth quarter with their running attack, and they've been wearing on you all game long, those 2-yard runs in the first quarter turn into 5 and 6 and 10 and sometimes even 15 runs in the fourth quarter. The question is, can they keep it that tight? Against Salesian, it was working for them. They got the advantage of the field position advantage that kind of put Salesian in a hole. Second half, that wasn't the case, and their athletes kind of took over a little bit, but St. Paul was able to hold on, and then they got the big return to win the game. So I would probably lean towards Cathedral, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's close and St. Paul would pull it out in the end.
I'm picking Cathedral. Freddie,
I've got Cathedral and St. Francis.
Yeah.
Okay, well there you have it. Here's the situation. I think the scenario that we're all kind of rooting for, at least locally here, is that St. Francis gets in and St. Paul, even if they lose to Cathedral, and it's St. Paul and Salesian for that at-large spot, and because of the head-to-head, which is worth 4 points, I believe, in the CIF at-large formula, St. Paul looking good to get it over Salesian. Now, I don't know about how they're looking over the other at-large applicants in the division in the Southeast, but at least over Salesian, St. Paul would get in, and that would be pretty cool for them to get back in the playoffs. Nonetheless, folks, get out to these games on Friday night, St. Paul at Cathedral, and
if you're going to the St. Paul Cathedral game, get there early because parking, as we've talked about before, is extremely limited.
Yeah, and it's somewhat limited at LaSalle too. Maybe not as bad as Cathedral. So St. Francis fans, you want to get there early. This is a lot of locals playing in this game, so that ought to be interesting. Enjoy these games on Friday night, and we'll sort it out after.